The next thing we want to do is to create our listing categories and attributes. So to do that, in the settings panel, go to listings, and then click on the button listing categories. And we're gonna add some digital service categories like marketing, development, or design. So to create a category, click on add new category. And here, enter the title. So we'll start with web development. And remember, it's just like the pages here. You have a name just for you and a title that will appear to the public. Next, we can enter a category description, and the text we'll enter here will appear at the top of the category page when users will browse by category. So here we'll enter something really simple.
3 hours later.
Next, we'll add a nice featured image for the category page. And then let's quickly review these options here. So if you choose to display this category in the mega menu, as the name says, well, it will show in the mega menu if you enable that mega menu in the settings. And you can also choose whether you want this category to show up on search results page. And finally, you can use this category as a filter when visitors browse listings. And just like pages, since it's a category page, you have the option to customize the SEO parameter like the URL, the meta title, and meta description. Okay, let's save this category. And actually, web development is kind of a broad category, so what we want is to have it act as a parent category and create subcategories that are more specific. So let's do that right now. So for instance, we could add a specific language in web development, so PHP. Next, let's add a nice little description. And now we can select the category we created previously as a parent of this one. And let's save. So now that I showed you how to create a category, I'm going to go and create a bunch of other ones and see you when it's done.
8 hours later.
Alright, now we have our main parent categories and their subcategories. It's time to add some listing attributes. Listing attributes are to listings the same as user attributes are to users. They are additional custom fields that can be used to add more information to your listings. So let's see how to add a listing attribute. Go back to the general settings for listings, click on listing attributes, and then click on add new attribute. So for instance here, we can add an attribute to indicate where the sellers are going to deliver their services. Are they going to perform on premises? Or is it remote work only? Or can they do both? So let's give it an explicit title. And for the type, we'll choose a drop-down list so the users can select from our options. You can provide a help message if you want to make things more clear. And so we can now add our options. So we're going to add remote work and on premises. And we're going to add another option for the case where they want to do both. So now that you have your options, the cool thing is that you can also use this listing attribute as a filter for when the visitors browse the listings. And if you select yes here, a new filter will appear on the left side column of the listing pages and will allow visitors to filter the listings and, for instance, find all the listings that are remote only. Next, we choose not to display the unselected option. And with services, it's usually important to know this info, so we'll make it required. We want it visible for everyone. And the sort priority here is just like the user attributes, so it's the order in which the fields are going to appear in the form. So we can leave it to 0 here, and it's sorted automatically. And this listing attribute is rather relevant to all categories. So we'll simply select all the categories and click Save. All right, let's quickly add another one. This attribute will be used to indicate the seller's experience level. For this field, we could use the short text type or even the number type, but I think it's a good thing to keep answers consistent. So we'll go for drop down and we'll offer the beginner option from 0 to 2 years, an intermediate option from 2 to 7 years, and finally we add a last option, which is expert, 7 years or more. We'll use this attribute as a filter. This time, we won't make this attribute required, and we'll simply assign it to all the categories too. Okay, now let's just add one final example of an attribute, and this one will be specific to a category. So for instance, let's add an attribute that would be specifically linked to the design category. So it would be, for instance, the specialty in the design domain. So for the type, we're gonna pick checkbox this time because we want to let users select one or more specialties. So for instance, one specialty could be Photoshop, another one could be Illustrator, and another one yet could be Adobe Premiere. We won't use this attribute as a filter, and we'll leave the other option to no. And we also won't make it required and make it visible to everyone. But this time, we'll assign this attribute only to the design categories. So when a user will create a listing, they will be able to indicate their specialty. And there we have it, our 3 listing attributes that will on one side allow sellers to provide more relevant info when they create a listing, and on the other side allow visitors to filter the listings using these attributes.